The basement. This is a true event happened to my family. I'm Emma, a single mom. I was living with my little son back then. He was a soon-to-be 5 years old that year. He was such an adorable child, named Jack. To save some money as well as to be near my workplace, I had decided to move to an old apartment. Then the relocation day came. I have packed my stuff from the van. Jack rushed up to our new apartment. "Jack, stay put honey, take it slow." This apartment had been built from a very long time. There was the only staircase to move up, no elevator. Jack stepped ahead of me and very excited with that new place. "Mom, open the door. It seems to be broken. We are new here, honey, we yet to know anything here. So you gotta listen to me, stay put, you hear me?" I asked Jack carefully. Even though that was an old building, but our apartment was still a very nice place to live. The building had been managed by an old couple. They have been so dedicated, looked after everything in the building. They also usually admonished the people here for everyone's safe. My son Jack, he was really mischievous and curious about everything. He had noticed there was a basement right after he stepped in here. "Mom, there is a basement here." "All right, I saw it honey, we gotta move quickly," I answered perfunctorily. There was a stair down to a dank basement at the building entrance. It made me uncomfortable. I was not sure there was anyone living there. I had noticed that Jack looked interested to that basement. He kept staring at the basement direction. So I reminded him, "Honey, it looks dangerous under there. You should not go there by yourself, hear me?" I had always an unspoken scary feeling about dark places like caves or basements. Probably, that was because I have nyctophobia, or might be I just scared about terrible things inside the dark. We moved to the new apartment just like that. Jack and me gradually got used to that place. After a few days, Jack was able to hang out outside with the other kids around his age. That wasn't too big, and there was always the manager's wife there, so I didn't have to worry much every time Jack went out. One day, Jack asked me, "Mom, might I go out for a while?" I reminded him about dinner time. "You shouldn't go too far out of the building. Tons of vehicles outside, you know. Just go downstairs a bit. Play at the yard, then back for dinner. Promise me." I had been always sorry for Jack since I was unable to give him a full family with both father and mother as the other kids. So I barely stopped him from what he would love to do as long as it was not dangerous to him. After cooking the meal and set the table, Jack still didn't back home. I was a bit worried. I came down to the yard and looked around. No him. So I came to ask the manager's wife, "Have you seen my son around? I saw he has played around with a ball earlier right there, but he headed upstairs already, he had to be home." But I had not seen him on the way down. That made me panic. Then I hurried get back to our apartment to check out. At the entrance, I heard some child's giggles from the basement. "Jack, is that you?" That sounded so much like my son, so I called him aloud, but no one answered. To be sure, I pulled myself together and stepped down to the basement. Once entering the basement floor, I heard he talked to someone. "Nanny, give me the ball." The lights got fuzzy and fuzzier. That made my heart miss a beat. I looked through the basement's corridor and called, "Jack, is that you?" "Just answered me honey." Once I saw Jack, I felt like my heart was able to get back to normal. I took a deep breath. "Jack, why don't you just answer me?" "Dinner time. Go home. Now." I stepped towards him and called him out loud. He didn't seem able to hear my voice until I came up close to him. He surprisingly asked, "Why do you get here?" I was a bit exacerbated since Jack didn't comply what I told him. "Why I am here." "What I have told you. Remember. Why you don't just hear me out and went down here?" "I'm here with Nanny," he explained. I looked around but no one there. I surprised, "Nanny who?" "I see no one." I was unable to stand in the basement any longer. so I rushed Jack, let's get home for dinner. I warned him about the basement again and again on the way back. During dinner, I have asked my son, so you was at the basement with Nanny, an old lady you meant? Yes. Mom, she lives in the basement, she invited me to her place, he assured. We have been just living there for a short time, but I know there are not too many people there. I have never seen the basement lady before around. I would like to ask after her, I might meet her later. How does she look like? She is very kind to me, she is not tall, chubby and bear a smile all the time on her face, he described. There is a hole in her forehead, that is really weird, do you think so? Jack added. I have tried to remember did I see any old lady like that, but there was nothing I could recall. Then I have stopped to think of that until another day. I had finished my work and got into the building. The manager's wife waved at me. Jack's mother, you're back? By the way, pardon, Auntie, is there an old lady living in our basement? She was bedazzled a bit then replied, yes, there was, why you ask? I told her about what happened. The other day, Jack came downstairs and didn't back on time for dinner because he went with that lady to the basement. So I just asked. No worries. The manager's wife signed slightly and started. You should prepare for what I'm gonna tell you. She told me there was indeed an old lady named Amelia lived under the basement. Her son and daughter-in-law had been passed away due to car accident a few years ago. Unfortunately, they left her with their little baby. The two of them had relied to each other's, but bad luck had come to her another time. Another car accident had taken Amelia's nephew away. So there was only her left in this world all alone. She decided to rent the basement at our building to live. She barely talked to another, she usually sat on that bench. She always looked like devastated, something on her mind. Sometimes she smiled, sometimes she cried, poorly. Especially, when she saw a young couple with their baby walk by, she would give her eyes on them until they went far away. I sympathized deeply for Auntie Amelia. She was really a poor old lady. If she was a loner, I would let Jack come visit her more often to comfort her. But the manager's wife gave me a shock detail. She had passed away not long later as well. What? She passed away? I was a bit terrified. She passed away because of an accident a year ago. She fell down the staircase, and unable to be out of the wood. Her forehead got stabbed accidentally by the sharp corner, that was in fall. People lives here had donated to bury her properly. I put everything together and got scared. If she passed away a year ago, so who my son had hanged out with? So that her soul? The one my son met earlier, she is still here. The manager's wife comforted me by explaining. That is gonna be okay eventually. She loved children. Not only Jack could see her. Most of the children live here too. All you should do now is come down to the basement. Burn her some joss papers, incense sticks, leave her some fruits and beg her to not harm Jack in the future. I was unable to just stay still. I gotta do something. I bought some joss papers, fruits and came down to the basement. Honestly, I got more scared about the basement after hearing the whole things. But I had to do that. I would do everything to my son. I didn't know why, but when entering the basement floor, I felt a cold breeze flew by. I heard echoes for each of my every footsteps clearly. I had tried to grind my teeth to calm down while stepping down and found her room. I put the whole things in front of the door. I started to burn the joss papers. I mumbled like I was talking to Amelia, and I believed she could hear all of that. Auntie Amelia, I know you love children. My little Jack is still very small. Please don't scare or hurt him. Please leave him to live a happy life, and don't come to see him. Right after I finished it, another breeze flew by and brought the dusk of the joss papers along. All the dusk flew all around the basement with the breeze. In the dark of the basement, besides, there was dusk from which I had burned the joss papers. I had seen an old lady stood nearby. Then she swiftly disappeared. I had cleaned thing up and left the basement. I looked back. The left Joss papers have still kept burned in the brass for a while, irrationally. I was pretty sure there was no breeze to blow the fire up. I thought that was Auntie Amelia. After that, everything got back to normal to me and my little son. The basement had become a forbidden children zone, and fortunately, Jack had not mentioned to the basement lady anymore.